Greetings, my name is Guy Dauncey and this is Change the World on Rogers TV. Today we're talking democracy and the future of democracy with two guests, Sonia Furstenau and Maeve Maguire. So Sonia, you'll know probably well from having been hanging around in the legislature as leader of the Green Party, MLA for the Cowichan Valley. Before that you were a high school teacher, right? Mm-hmm. But you've been involved in politics and stuff in Shawnigan for a long time, right?
Yeah, and before that in citizen participatory democracy too.
And Maeve, you were a councillor in North Cowichan, elected councillor, and then working closely with Sonia when she was leader of the Green Party, stuff
That's
like
right.
that.
In the caucus.
So democracy is, frankly, the core of how we remain civilized, because the alternative democracy is, whichever way you look at it, it's some thug tyrannizing other people, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so we've evolved from kings and princes and just the people around the court got to have democracy, and then they reluctantly let wealthy men, and then all men, and then finally all women. And we call it representative democracy. You get on your horse, you ride to Victoria or to London, wherever, and you represent the people. Is that sufficient for where we are, and has democracy got another stage? Which of you wants to kick this thing off?
I can start. Absolutely, democracy has another stage, another chapter, and we need to be writing that right now, because what we are getting out of democracy currently isn't living up to the promise of what we should be expecting. So we're seeing problems that aren't being solved. Our healthcare system, climate change, inequality, homelessness, all of these issues that really we task our governments with solving these problems. And we're seeing this inability to solve the increasingly complex problems. And so where we think we need to go is towards a much more participatory form of democracy. Yeah. You have the representation, but we need, as Maeve likes to say, the wisdom of the public.
Because what we're seeing right now is that throughout, say, the developed world at least, trust in government is falling and falling and falling. Most people have a cynical view about democracy or about government. They feel it doesn't represent them, or they feel it's not getting anywhere. Mm-hmm. So something is needed that's different. And that something is, Maeve?
A citizens' assembly, or we've been calling it a community assembly.
A community assembly,
yes.
Citizens' assembly.
Yeah.
We'll call it the same thing for all intents and purposes.
An assembly of the public.
And how does that work? Because the public clearly is an awful lot of people.
Yeah. Well, I can talk about the assembly that took place for the amalgamation between Victoria and Saanich. I was one of the facilitators during that assembly.
Oh, right,
it was a great honor
to turn them
there.
into one big fat municipality of 102,000, 200,000 people. Whatever.
Yes, I'm not entirely sure of the number, but yeah we'll go with big fat. So it was facilitated by Mass LBP, who have done a number of these, including one that happened in North Cowichan, where I'm from, where I was a councillor. Yeah. And we were asking, in North Cowichan, it was the same question, should Duncan and North Cowichan become amalgamated?
Yes. So it's a complex question.
Big time.
Yes. Yep. On which people have very strong opinions.
Big time.
Oh, of course you should do it. You shouldn't do it, right?
Yeah.
And what happens in a community assembly?
Yeah, so a long-standing question is a really good point. It's a big task and a big ask. So when the public, it's a really challenging thing that the public needs to come through together. And so the assembly that I participated in as a facilitator worked a little bit like this. So 10,000 letters went out to the public in both Victoria and Saanich. And a number of people in the hundreds would reply and say, yes, they were interested in participating in the assembly.
Right.
From that group, there is a lottery system, an algorithm that picks the people, 48 people in the end, by demographics. So where they lived, what age they were, what kind of job they had, what else? Education.
So it's kind of it's random who's picked, but then you finesse it to get a balance of men and women and rural and urban, all that sort of stuff.
Representative of the demographics.
Yes.
Of the
So
region.
if you've got 20% or under 20, whatever, you'd have some under 20s.
Yeah, and you're aiming for that. So it's a broad representation of it. The representation is a really big question right now that's evolving, as all of these things are. We're learning it with iteration. Anyway, so for that assembly, the group met for 8 Saturdays.
This is the 48 people who are finally selected.
Yeah.
Okay.
They met for 8 Saturdays.
All day long?
All day long.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a full day. treated very well, fed.
Yeah, yeah.
Honoraria.
Well, in this case, no.
Oh,
yeah,
no
not in this
honoraria.
case, no.
Okay.
But, daycare could be provided,
Yeah.
some way that people
Yes.
could be able to come. The main thing was making sure that people could
Yes.
attend. So, and attendance was high. I think there might have been somebody on vacation. Well,
Yeah.
that's
Were they all in one group of 48 the whole time?
always.
No
yeah.
Zoom breakout groups kind of
No
thing?
Zoom
then?
breakout groups, but we did have 2 public hearings,
Yes.
which were online and in person at the same
Yes.
time. And there was over 50, I believe it's over 50 people who had written in with their contribution to it, which was all available to the Assembly
Yeah.
in their deliberation.
So as soon as you get people writing in, you can have the partisans who are organising all their friends to
Yeah.
send it, and that can be biased things.
Obviously,
Yes,
yes. And the goal is to take all of those biases, talk about them,
Yes.
gain a common knowledge. Every
Right.
Saturday there would be panelists who would
Yeah.
come in and explain different aspects of running a municipality. There were social services
Right.
groups, there was business, I don't know,
So if someone says, I'm opposed to this amalgamation of
Yeah.
Victoria and Saanich, it's going to cost far too much.
Yeah.
You can have someone saying, well, actually, here's the numbers.
Yes.
Yes.
And a little bit of reason
Yeah.
will take the emotion level down a
Exactly.
little bit.
One of my favorite, I went to the final report of this
Yeah.
assembly because Maeve had been waxing poetic about how
Yes.
wonderful the experience was. And one of my favorite comments from a participant was he said, I came into this assembly with really strong opinions and
Yes.
very little knowledge.
Right.
I now have a lot more knowledge and my opinions are quite weak. So
Right,
it was
yes.
an inversion of exactly
Yeah.
what you talked about.
Yeah.
We do politics now often based in emotions and strong opinions, but what we're missing
Yes.
is that building the common knowledge, building off of values and common values. And when you do that collaborative work,
Yeah.
you find out that actually we agree on so much more than we disagree on.
So we've got a limited amount of time here.
Yeah.
I want to get to how these community assemblies are happening elsewhere in the world
Yes.
and what the plan is for British Columbia.
Yeah.
But first I have to ask, what was the end conclusion of this assembly?
So after those 8 weeks with all of this common knowledge being built, out comes a recommendation. That was written by the Assembly. As the 8 weeks go along, you start with values, you get information, you get the financial information,
Yes.
and recommendation goes to the 2 councils, and then it will go to referendum.
And the recommendation was?
Yes to amalgamation.
And was that on the 100% all consensus, or was it a percentage vote?
It's a consensus-based response.
So
yeah.
everyone agreed?
No. There will be a minority report where a
Right.
group of
So-
people can
so
say,
was there a percentage of how many disagreed?
I didn't get that. It was more a case of, are we all in favor? Yes.
Right.
Or no. And the no's could have
Yeah.
an opportunity
Yeah.
to write in. Yeah.
So I know a story of the French government held a big climate assembly on what should we do about climate policy.
Yeah.
And the president at the time, they come and go, I forget who it was, said, we will put, whatever you recommend, we'll make it policy. And I think at least a third of them did make policy. They didn't all make policy. And they had a lot of attention. The Prime Minister, the President attended, was on TV, a lot of fuss. So Britain thought we'd do the same thing. And they held in a warehouse near a motorway near Birmingham.
Right.
No politician showed up whatsoever. Recommendations came out and the government just ignored them.
Right.
So this can go either way about whether the politicians take the assembly seriously or
Yeah.
whether it's just a little farce they see on the side.
Yeah, and the intention really matters. If we're talking about strengthening democracy, if we're
Yes.
talking about better participation, then everybody has to really be invested
Yes.
in that
Yeah.
particular piece. And we talked about this before we came on, but in BC in 2004, the first Citizens' Assembly happened, and it was on
Yes.
electoral reform. And the Assembly came out and recommended for yes, single transferable vote. We had the referendum. It almost passed, almost 58%.
Yes.
Um,
But they set a threshold of 60%,
yes.
so it failed,
So,
right?
however, there was a political scientist from Ireland who was brought in to talk about electoral systems.
Yes.
And he was so impressed with this model of the
Yes.
Citizens' Assembly, he went back to Ireland and has devoted his career to assemblies. And Ireland has become one of the regions, one of the countries that has embraced assemblies. And in particular, an assembly on the right to abortion to make abortion legal and an assembly to make gay marriage legal.
Both of which are highly emotional issues,
yeah.
right? Yeah. Especially in Ireland, hello.
Especially in
Big
Ireland.
ask.
Yeah, and in those cases, both of the assemblies came out in favor of legalizing,
Yeah.
and there was a referendum for both, and both passed. And so you can see the way that participation of the public
Yes.
provides, and especially with the climate one in France too, even though it was only a third of the recommendations, that's better than nothing. But it provides the kind of strength and guidance to politicians that we need in this very complex world we're living in. We can't operate in the edges.
But governments, we elect representatives,
Yeah,
and they have all the staff, and they're dealing on any one day with 30 complicated issues, from drug abuse to street crime to climate crisis to transit to, you can't, if you had assemblies on all of those things, how would you, fill me in, how does it work?
Yeah, it's a good question. Like, how would you?
There's an awful lot of issues on which
Yeah.
we're divided and confused.
Well, the city of Langley has undertaken an assembly on well-being
and community safety.
and community safety.
Okay.
So I would guess, and the same thing with North Cowichan and Duncan and Victoria Saanich, these were long-standing
Yes.
issues that were really challenging to meet or to come to
Yes.
politically, emotionally
Yeah.
within the community on how to deal with it. And so I think it naturally fit that they would
Yeah.
go ahead with
So
this, but it's a
maybe
good
you're just
question.
choosing the hot button. I mean, right now it's a
Yeah.
hot button issue. The street people.
Right.
Should they be mandatorily, the ones who are really mentally disturbed, put them in a
Right.
mandatory situation or give them love and compassion on the
Right.
street? That gets people very polarized. It'd be a very
Exactly.
good topic for this sort of thing.
And it may be it's a yes and answer, right?
Yes.
And I think that the nuance and complexity of the world we're in requires a lot more nuance and complexity from our decision making.
Yes.
And yet, where politics operates is finding those wedges and kind of pushing people to
Well, for those who are in Victoria,
sides.
the enjoyable thing is the contrast between the challenges happening on Victoria City Council and the way it's portrayed in the letters page of the Times columnists. And everyone is, you do this, you do that. Very
Right.
black and white, simplistic. How could there be
Yes.
so stupid kind of thinking?
Yeah.
Whereas actually, these are complex decisions.
But you could take those people who have written all of those articles and bring them together in a room, inform them from all of the, people who have experienced it, people without homes on the
Yes.
street, people who have been studying this for years,
Yes.
helping.
people on the front lines. And then they would be like, oh, what Sonia said. I came in with a lot of opinions and not a lot of knowledge.
Yeah.
So how do we, it's easy let's do one assembly on one thing. How do you make it more pervasive that every council is using it on a steady basis?
Yeah, so this is, New Westminster is showing the way right now. So
Okay.
New Westminster has established a standing community assembly. And they're in the process right now of bringing in the second round of participants in that by lottery. So using the same approach, it's a selection of,
Yes.
of people chosen by lottery that are representative of the community. And the way that assembly is working is the council will put a question to the assembly.
Yes.
And then the assembly will do the gathering of information, knowledge,
Yes.
the consensus building, and give the guidance back to the council. So this is a great example of how we can integrate that participation of the public on an ongoing
they've had one
basis.
assembly already in New Westminster, I think.
Yeah, well, they've had a year of a standing community assembly.
And has it discussed a controversial topic?
It has been, it's been given topics to discuss by the council.
Yes.
I think in some ways the actual topics, they matter, but at the essence of what the assemblies
Yes.
do is they're building connection and belonging in community. They're
Yes.
building this capacity for us to have these conversations.
Yeah.
They're providing reliable information that then gets shared out more widely. And I think of it as a ripple. Every assembly is
Yeah.
one ripple of good democratic
Yeah.
practice. And as we have more and more ripples, our democratic ocean
Right.
becomes filled with these waves of strengthening the fabric of
So
how
we've
we
got
work.
municipal elections coming up
Yes,
basically in a year's time.
we do.
Do you have a campaign to get, how do you hope to influence the municipal elections?
Well, I like to think of it as our candidate is the community assembly, and we're going to run our candidate in the election.
Which is a confusing way to put it, obviously.
That's for my benefit.
Right.
Just because we're going to try and convince and build champions and people to come on board to say out loud or to believe inside that this is a good way to come to help democracy within their
right. So say
municipalities.
let's take a Swineville, and you say it's the election is October of next year,
Yeah.
and it's August, and you know who the candidates are.
Yeah, that's right.
You've got a list of anywhere between, well, in Victoria, 100 people, but for say the Swineville, there's 20 people. You then approach them individually and see if some of them might be champions for this.
Yeah, that'd be one way to do it.
Yeah. We're going to do a lot of information campaigning, like you do in a campaign.
Yes.
There's a communication piece, just like we're doing right now with
Right.
you, Guy. And raise awareness about the benefits and the potential that assemblies offer in
Right.
terms of the next act of our democracy, the next chapter of our democracy. And then tell the stories of where these assemblies have happened.
Right.
Gibson's and Burnaby used
Yeah.
residence assemblies for their official community planning. And so instead of waiting to engage the public at the very end of your
Yes.
official community planning with a public meeting where everybody
Yes.
comes very angry with very strong opinions,
Yes.
you start the planning with an assembly that gives guidance to the whole project on here are the values and the
Yeah.
vision for our future of our community.
So could you set up an assembly on some topic before the municipal election,
yeah.
which will be
Yeah.
filmed perhaps by Rogers, live,
There we
following
go.
it live,
Yes.
so that everyone is being educated to what this thing is,
Yes.
and then they get to understand the thing
Yeah.
before it's discussed in the...
Yeah, so one of the first thing that the assemblies did was they defined their values. And that's a really simple way of demonstrating how an assembly
Yes.
can work, is if you were to have, 6 tables of 6 people even,
Yeah.
and each table took it on to define their values for
Right.
Victoria, for, music. It doesn't really matter. It just gives you a sense of how the process works. That's what we've been talking about, is how can we demonstrate to
Right.
the public, to potential politicians, but to the public to say, I want my politician to take this on when they're
So one of my
elected.
next guests on Change the World is Liz Cronin from the
Yeah.
Victoria Transit
Right.
Users thing. And she's a big champion for free transit.
Yes, as are
Yes.
we. Yes,
And
please.
I'm in the process of trying to set up with friends a BC-wide public transit alliance.
Okay.
And it's divided us immediately between people who say, well, if you argue for free transit, people in rural areas say, well, you're going to forget us, it can't be done. And others saying it must be done. And there are 150 communities around the world that have free transit.
Yeah.
Each of them has a different funding model, but it's something that people, a lot more educational light is needed
Yeah.
rather than emotional, what the opposite is.
Yeah.
Colour.
Yeah. Emotional, strong opinions.
Is a topic like that something,
Yeah.
say, in October or September, no, in August or September, you could organise an assembly
Yeah.
to let people in on how it works?
And this was a conversation we were having yesterday about a demonstration
Yes,
project,
yes.
a demonstration assembly. And I think part of the campaign, including that storytelling, love to have Rogers on board to share this widely.
Well, what's
and
great is it's clearly non-partisan.
Yeah.
That's the essence of it.
This is the
of it.
essence.
That is the
Yeah.
entire point.
10
Yeah.
years in the political world, and we have come out just embracing non-partisan solutions.
Yes.
This is the way we have to go. And I think showing it's not just like, can we sort out this problem and get the information and make informed opinions, give guidance. It's the creation of the spark of relationship
Yes.
and belonging and joy that comes when we're collaborating with people in our
Yeah.
community on how to solve problems.
So one drawback of this is that you only got 48 people in that assembly out of, in Victoria, 70,000.
Yeah.
Or so it's a tiny fraction of people. The
Yeah.
Swiss are taking participatory democracy in a different direction, or they have done for over 100 years, which is that anyone can recommend a change to the law.
Yeah.
If you get enough signatures, it has to have a vote. And the Swiss vote 4 times a year on all sorts of stuff. And trust in government in Switzerland is like in the 80% level.
Right.
That involves everyone gets to vote. Is that an additional part of participatory democracy? It's not, obviously, it doesn't need to be either or.
There's some great examples happening in real time right now and it's called the sort of digital democracy space.
Yes.
Where groups like Othello or MetaGov that are finding ways to use digital technology, our phones,
Yeah.
to bring in more voices
Right.
and to find where the consensus already exists through a lot of data
Yeah.
gathering. And so I think that's something that we're really adding to our imagination of what's possible.
Yeah.
Is you have the assembly as the kind of old school analog piece,
Yes.
real people sitting in the room together, but you supplement and
Yeah.
complement it with these digital tools that can bring in
Well, Seattle has
huge
they've
numbers
used a
of people.
program called Polis,
Yes.
which enables people to see, oh, I think this, but actually most people are thinking that, and maybe, and
Right.
getting a sense of where the emotional geography is
Yes.
around an issue.
Much more effectively than our truth bubbles on social media.
Well, that's the worst way of doing it.
Yeah.
Because you only get to be in one bubble and enjoy it, and everyone else is, by definition, an idiot.
Yes.
And then you're down to the. I mean, from that perspective, our democracies are really falling apart at the seams
Yeah.
because of the distortions of reality that are happening on social media.
Yeah.
So, to reverse that entirely, we need something big.
Yeah.
We need a place for people who can engage in a safe place.
Yes.
Social media doesn't provide that, because if I put my feeling about something out
You'll
there,
get-
somebody's coming back and saying, that's silly, or you're naive, or
That's
whatever.
the mild end of it.
Or an army of
Yeah.
robots, right?
Or
an army of robots can come
yeah.
in and
Yeah.
trash you, yes.
Yeah.
It's all just, and because of that, people are giving up even more
Yeah.
on this whole process of engagement.
Yeah.
Which is why the assembly is so powerful, because it
Yes.
is the exact opposite of being in that space. You are in a safe place. You're in a facilitated room.
But the municipal elections are province-wide, and you don't want to focus on a sample assembly that's just Esquimalt or Souk. You want something that is province-wide in interest,
Yeah.
and maybe it's Knowledge Network who film it because it's province-wide, or
Right.
CBC, get CBC to film it.
Yeah. And it's interesting, CBC has a TV program right now called The Assembly, which isn't a citizens' assembly, but it's a group of neurodiverse people asking very direct questions
Right.
of celebrities, which touches on that idea of like, how do we learn more about
Well,
each
in
other?
America, they've got this thing going on. You sit yourself in the middle
Yeah.
of 20 people who think the opposite.
Right.
And they're all firing questions at you.
Right.
You got to be strong in the middle to handle
Right.
it. But people are very engaged
Right.
with that dialogue process.
Yeah. I think we're hungry for this.
So
guys.
could you persuade CBC, if you came to them with a very tangible proposal
Right.
very soon, because they obviously 6 months planning in advance?
Well, we have always wanted to do CBC
Yeah.
or some kind of, television series.
Have you thought what a topic might be for, that would engage everyone's interest?
I mean, I love your idea about transit because that's
Yeah.
a province-wide. I think the community well-being
Yes.
and safety is an
Everyone
issue
is
for
concerned
every
about the
community
crime on
in
the streets
BC
and
right
the-
now.
yes.
And I think another topic that is, of course, very dominant right now is reconciliation. And I think having conversations
Yeah.
in the open about how do we come together and imagine the
Right.
future that we're trying to
Yeah.
build. How do we change the world for better together? And I just read this really remarkable article yesterday about, welcome to the
Yes.
Polyscene. It was, we're in this very complicated world.
Yeah.
It's collaboration.
Yes.
It's our ability to collaborate that is really going to determine if we thrive.
Well, everyone who's working in a company or in a non-profit organization knows that you've got to collaborate around whatever proposal you're putting forward.
Yeah.
And that 10 people's ideas are going to come up with a better solution than one person's
Yeah.
idea. So why would that not be true?
But I don't think people necessarily have the skills to collaborate, because we've been sort of like, if you have an opinion, then I have
Yeah.
to defend it.
Yeah,
right?
we have to
It's
we have to defend our
antagonistic.
Well,
opinions.
the emotional impulse to become defensive
Yes.
is very quick for all of us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's almost like, how do we all learn to take a beat,
Yes.
right? How do we all learn to slow down that emotional
Yes.
reaction and lean a bit more into curiosity,
Yeah.
into asking questions, into I think, one of the things that we find so delightful about working together is that we're just always driven by
Yeah.
seeing how little we know. We want to know more.
Are
we
you
want
thinking
to
of
keep
setting
learning.
up a wider non-profit to push this, apart from just the two of you?
Yeah, I mean, for now, the campaign to get citizens'
Yes.
assemblies as something that we want everybody talking about going into the next election, and we want candidates as champions. we've got a plan for that.
Right.
As this grows, we absolutely want to be part of a bigger umbrella of collaborators,
Yeah.
of building this web of participatory democracy
Right.
that really shifts BC. And you know, the story is so beautiful. We had that first assembly here in
Yes.
2004. Assemblies have gone out to the world.
Yeah.
And now if we could be a jurisdiction in North America that recognizes
Right.
it's time for the next level
But to
of
capture the
democracy.
public's attention in a way, in a time when it's so scattered,
I know.
you've got to have strong branding for it,
Mm-hmm.
a strong image, and something that grabs attention.
Yeah.
But these are starting to happen. There's a video that came out of the Gibson's official community plan process.
Yes. Yeah.
Super powerful.
Okay.
It demonstrates what it is it's the assembly members after the fact talking about how it felt to be heard,
Right.
what they learned. They felt more likely to engage in civic discussions now. They felt
Yeah.
more like they belonged in their community, which policy outcomes is definitely pretty important in this.
Yeah.
But the sense of being belonging in your community.
But I hadn't heard about
Yeah.
the Gibson's Assembly.
You
This-
can send your viewers to, it's Renovate the Public Hearing Initiative, RPHI. And they've
Right.
done a few pilots on assemblies, and they've really got this trove of really good information.
Yeah.
But I know what you're saying. You didn't hear about it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so a whole bunch of other people,
Yes.
and I'm
Yeah.
really well networked
Yeah.
and informed.
So that's our job.
Yeah, we're
Yes.
sales and marketing.
Yeah.
We're going to be out there spreading the word and telling these
And you're
stories.
going to have a website about it
Yeah.
and short videos
Yeah.
and all
We're
that
working
This is
on-
our
Right.
this
We're
is our candidate.
Getting
Yeah.
this up off the ground
So
in real time.
we got 2 minutes left.
Okay.
Is there any way in which the viewers who are watching can engage with you?
We are in the process of building the website.
Okay.
The
And
website, the name is the Community Assembly Network.
Well, that's okay.
Yes, we can.
There you go. And if you have it twice, you can do the can together.
We can do the can-can. We can do the can-can.
I like that you're in the can group.
So we will be putting this together. We are in the very beginning
Right,
stage
okay.
of this, and we're delighted to be
Yeah.
talking about it with you. But in the next couple of weeks, months,
Yeah.
we're getting this campaign up and off the ground, including the website.
Right. And
Community
you're gonna
Assembly
You
Network.
want some nice endorsements from famous people around
We
the province
are
and otherwise also
Currently seeking endorsements
Yeah.
from people around the province.
people who have respect, including, the range of them all. Yes.
Yeah.
Because that's, if he likes it, then I'm in this sort of stuff.
Like you.
Yeah.
across across the spectrum. This
Yeah.
is an
Across
all-inclusive
the
approach.
spectrum. This
Cool.
is nonpartisan across the spectrum.
Right. Well, this has been fascinating.
Yes.
Thanks, Maeve, and thanks, Sonia. I'm hoping our viewers can be tuning in. We don't have mandatory voting like they do in Australia and some other countries, but we encourage everyone to vote. So you're all kind of participating in municipal elections when they come up. And this is something hopefully you will discuss with the candidates when you have all candidates meetings. What do you think about us having citizens' assemblies and stuff like that? So anyway, this has been a great discussion. I'm Guy Dauncey. This has been Change the World TV on Rogers. Thanks for watching and tune in again for another fascinating discussion. Thank you.